Today on Hot Thai Kitchen, we're making บัวลอย สวัสดีค่ะ Welcome to Hot Thai Kitchen. It's time for another dose of sweetness around here, so we're making a Thai dessert today. We're making บัวลอย. Now, บัว means lotus and loi means to float. So together it means floating lotus, and when we go to make it, you'll see why. Now, this dessert is a great recipe to make with kids. So for those of you with kids, you might want to think about this as a project. So I've got here, there are two parts to this dessert, two components. First is our chewy rice balls, and then the second part is the sweet coconut soup in which these little rice balls is served. So the rice balls, it's a sticky rice ball, so it'll be chewy, kind of like a Japanese mochi if you're familiar with that. Okay, so let's first make the dough for the rice balls. I've got 100 grams or 1 cup of glutinous rice flour, and that's the flour that's made from the sticky rice that Thai people eat. And it comes in a package like this, and it's usually green, and it'll say glutinous rice flour. Make sure it's a product of Thailand. I think there are different types of glutinous rice flours out there depending on the country it comes from. So 1 cup of that, you measure it by cup, don't pack it down, spoon it in gently, and then level it off with a straight edge. Okay, you don't want to pack it down. So to this, we're going to add our flavor and color component. We're using today mashed taro, and I just steamed this and mashed this, and if you want to know a little bit more about taro and how to prep and cook it, I have a separate video you can watch for that. So half a cup of steamed and mashed taro, and I'm just going to mix it in with my fingers. Now, there are other kinds of flavors that you can use, so you don't have to use taro. A lot of times we use steamed and mashed squash, kabocha squash to be exact. And I made, actually I think I have kabocha squash to show you. This is a kabocha squash, and you just steam it, roast it, and then mash the flesh, and then you make a yellow dough like this one I made in advance. The process is the same. And you don't have to use mashed vegetables for this. You can just use colored juices. For example, we often use pandan leaf juice. Pandan leaves is to Thai cuisine what vanilla is to Western cuisine. And then we just blend the leaves with some water and use the water to make the dough, and makes a light pastel green dough like this one. So you can use beet juice or whatever kind of juice you like. We're going to add some water. I've got half a cup of water. You may or may not need it all. So we're just going to start with a little bit and then see how much we need from there. Now, some recipes will also call for tapioca starch, and like just a couple tablespoons, and you can do that, and it all comes down to what kind of texture you want. Sticky rice flour will give you a soft kind of chewy. Tapioca flour will give you a bouncy kind of chewy, similar to that of bubble tea pearls. Those are made of 100% tapioca, I believe. Okay, so now that it's just come to a ball, and now what we have to do is turn this into little balls. A trick, I guess, to make the balls equal in size, what you want to do is you want to kind of get an estimate first. If you just pinch off the dough, it'll be really hard to get them equal size. So I like to pat it down into a rectangle-ish, about 1 centimeter, no more than 1 centimeter thick. And then just cut out strips. With each strip, you just want to cut them into little pieces, about 1 centimeter in thickness as well. And just go ahead and do all that. And then when you go to roll, it'll be easy, and then they're going to be roughly about the same size, the size of a lotus seed. And that is the reason why we call it บัวลอย. So that's the lotus part of the name. Okay, so this is the part where you can get all your children involved, so they can sit there and roll all these balls. rolled all our bua loi. We actually rolled all 3 different colors, and that's actually a very common thing to do, to have several colors in there. And while we're waiting for everything else to get ready, keep it wrapped so that it doesn't dry out. I've got 1 pot of water going, just regular water, getting to a boil so we can boil the bua loi. The other pot, I've got here 2 cups of coconut milk, and then I'm going to add 1 cup of water. And you want to add the water because coconut milk by itself is really rich and heavy, and it's just a little too much. You know, if it's too rich, it'll be hard to eat. And then I'm gonna add pandan leaves that I tied into a knot. Pandan leaves just adds a nice floral flavor to it, kind of like the way vanilla, infusing vanilla into a custard, same thing. Just half a pandan leaf, not too much. And then to this, we're going to add half a cup of chopped palm sugar. You can use white sugar too if you want, but white sugar, remember, doesn't have the nice butterscotchy flavor that palm sugar has. And then to sort of add personality to our dessert, always some salt, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Desserts always need a little bit of saltiness, because without that it will be, the sweetness is one-dimensional and flat, but when you add salt, it becomes sharp, it almost just gains depth, and all of a sudden it's so much better. So we're gonna let until this comes to a boil and all the sugar dissolves, and then give it a little taste, see if it needs a little bit more sweetness, a little bit more salt. And then we're gonna add the bua loi into here. So one more thing. Coconut milk boils over very easily, so don't walk away from it for too long. When it looks like it's almost boiling, stay with it and turn it off when it starts to bubble. It's happened to me before, so just warning you. So we're gonna cook our bua loi now, and so what you want to do is just drop them into a fully boiling water. Oop, not too much at a time, because if you add too much, the temperature will drop too far. And then you just have to wait until they float, and that's the floating part of the name, floating lotus. When the little balls float, that's how we know that they're done. And it doesn't take too long to do this, less than a minute. They're starting to float now. And then when you fish them out, you want to add them directly into a bowl of cold water to stop the cooking process. And then you just keep doing this until you're finished with all of them. Okay, so we finished cooking the bua loi, and now what you want to do is take them out, drain them, and then add them to the coconut milk here. And what you're doing here is you're letting the bua loi absorb the flavor and the sweetness from the coconut, because as you see before, the bua loi doesn't have anything other than flour and whatever fruit vegetable juice you're using, so it doesn't have a whole lot of flavor in and of themselves. Okay. And then you want to just turn this on. Well, which one is it? This one. Just until it comes back to a boil. Not even a full boil, just until it comes back to a simmer. And so it gets hot enough to facilitate the flavor absorption. Okay, so now we're ready to serve. Now some people like to make bua loi kai wan, and they poach an egg right in here. I'm not a big fan of that, but you're more than welcome to try. Some people like to add things like young coconut meat into this as well and make it a little bit more interesting. But I like it just like this. You want to serve this warm or room temperature. When it's cold, the sticky rice flour loses its bounciness, so it's not as chewy and satisfying. And that is it. That is our bua loi. This is called bua loi sam si, which means 3-colored bua loi, and then you can make as many colored bua loi as you want. Their full recipe is on hotthaikitchen.com. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time for your next delicious Thai meal.